Hi, this is Joey O'Neill from Sound Systems Incorporated out of Myrtle Beach, and today we're in beautiful Southport, North Carolina at Bethel Baptist Church. We just completed a small installation for the church that has a single house mix and a single monitor mix on stage. I'm not going to go into details about the stage stuff, but the church doesn't have any sound personnel, so what I'm trying to do is do an archived type video so that when people become available to help the church with the sound system down the road, they'll know very quickly how we've set the audio system up. The church was previously using a PV-powered mixer, and they were very relatively familiar with the PV-powered mixer, so we elected to just go ahead and put in an all-inclusive, nice and easy, easy to operate PV mixer. This is the XR 1220 series, which actually has two power amplifiers built into it. You can set them up for stereo left and right, but we went ahead and set this one up to be one amplifier is house and one amplifier are monitor mixes. The reason I'm doing this is because they hope to have some volunteers down the road, and this may help them get started. So basically, just like any mixer, we have channels 1 through 20. They actually kind of cheat when they say it has 20 channels, because if you look up here to the top right, those are actually stereo returns, inputs that we would use. For example, we have two CD players over to my left. There's a Tascam CD200 and an older Newmark dual well that they had, so we just tied those into the last two channels. They don't use split tracks currently, and but I instructed them how to quickly unplug something if they needed to do a split track. So basically what we have are, we have 12 inputs on stage. Inputs 1, 2, 3, and 4 are in a recessed steel drop box underneath the pulpit. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are house left, stage right, and they are multiple inputs. And then 9, 10, 11, 12 are inputs over by the music source, which primarily is just a acoustic piano in this setup. But they have capability of plugging up to 12 microphones on stage and coming back and activating whichever channel they would like. The snake is actually numbered in line with the labels on stage, in line with the actual channel that they're using. I did go ahead and set up the two choir mics. I put them in channel 2 since I figured we wouldn't use that underneath the pulpit as much. Then we have 4 handheld wirelesses, handheld 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have 2 headsets, pastors using headset number 1. Headset number 2 is another Shure BLX pack with a round the ear type setup, which works well. That's in headset number 2, which is in channel 18. CD1, which is currently what's playing now, is the Tascam CD player, and their current Newmark CD player is what we activated in CD number 2. It's one of those dual well deals. So basically it's set up like this. I'm going to use, what have I got in here? Alright, so I got Steve Bailey's solo tape in here, and what we're going to do is run through the channel here real quick. PFL, which means pre-fade listen, allows me to plug headphones into the headphone jack, and it would allow me to hear independently each independent channel. So if I heard a noise or a crackling cable or something like that and I wasn't sure what it was, the PFL lets me listen to what's in that particular channel. Next is the slider control, which turns it up in the house system, up or down accordingly. Pretty basic there. We do have a signal indicator, a green signal indicator that tells us something is going on in the channel. So for example, if I come over here and mute the CD player, that goes away. Obviously tells me there's nothing going on the channel, and that comes in handy later on because I may mute the channel, which is the switch right above it. That tells me that signal is still happening or something's going on in this particular channel that I either need to be decided to keep it muted, unmuted, up or down. Alright, pan control is irrelevant in this setup because the only amplifier in this mixer is set up to run both speakers, so we're really set up like a dual mono. This button is irrelevant. It doesn't matter what you do with it. It makes no difference. Then next, it's an effects processor. There is an effects processor built into the mixer, which according to the guy who would operate the system, they would never use. But should they ever wish to have some type of effect, some type of reverb or delay, echo, I'm going to take my handheld number 3, which is labeled handheld number 3, test, test, test. And I'm going to come up here. I'm going to turn my master section for the effects up, which is color coordinated with the particular row. There's currently an effects setting says R3, which is a reverb setting. And then I can take my handheld microphone that I'm using, number 3. You see signal, muting it, testing 1, 2, and then I can come up to the effects, check, 1, 2, Noah, build a boat. So now I have a reverb effect on my voice, and I can independently select that for each channel as I would need to. In this case, we're not going to use it. I'm going to pull the master volume down, and I'm going to mute it. Turn my microphone back off. Turn my music back up. We have monitor number 2, which is not being used for anything at this point. So anything I wanted to turn up through monitor 2 goes nowhere. This is the master volume for monitor number 2. I'm going to bring that down. But monitor number 1 does feed 2 PV Sanctuary series floor wedges and a hotspot monitor by the piano. So for example, my music playing, that's turning it up in the house system. But someone's going to sing with a pre-recorded track and they would need to hear on stage. All I do is come up here to my monitor control, bring that up, and now we're listening to the audio track that we're playing back through the stage mix. I can set that whatever level I like and then come back here and bring my house mix back up. Above the monitor 1 control, I have tone control. Low, mids, highs, bass, mid-range, treble, whatever terminology you want to use to describe that, which makes things brighter, clearer, bassier, personal preference. And then I have gain control across the top. And gain control acts as a gate of some point, if you will. The more I increase the gain control, more sound it allows, or the more signal it allows into the independent channel. Keep in mind that when I make an adjustment on my gain control, for example, if I bring it clockwise, I'm increasing the gain for the system, but I'm also increasing the gain going to the monitor mix and the recording and any other devices I may have. Let me turn that back down a little bit. Now, the most important thing about this particular mixer, everything's on one single power strip and it turns on and off with one switch, of course. But because we have 2 power amplifiers built in, amplifier number 1 actually drives our monitor speakers on stage. You probably can see a little LED light there that says monitor. That's driving by F1, meaning we have this little graphic equalizer that takes care of our stage wedges, obviously on stage. Amplifier number 2 is taking care of our main speakers, which are 2 Core 12s that we have hanging out in the congregation. And this graphic EQ is taking care of those. There is an auto EQ setup on here that would do some ferreting or getting rid of some feedback stuff. We haven't made it active. We haven't had the need to. We have plenty of gain before feedback, and it sounds relatively natural. Now, here's the trick for this particular mixer. I'm going to slide over here to this side, and this is the master volume for our house speakers. Currently, monitor 2 is not being used for anything. This is the master volume for monitor 1. I can bring the level of the monitors on stage up and down, or I can mute the monitors on stage. I'm just going to leave them on for the purposes. And this becomes the master volume for our effects processor, which, as I demonstrated before, we probably won't use. But the important switches on this are 2. Phantom power, because they have a couple condenser microphones. Our choir microphones are overhead condensers. And there's a mobile pulpit microphone, which requires phantom power. So that button is recessed and should stay on unless we stick something in there and turn it back off. No reason to do that. We have a headphone control here with a level control that ties to the PFL so we can listen to anything we'd like. But this little button right here that says Power Amp Mode, that tells the amplifiers on board where to go. And the way I would like for them to go and where the system is set up is for one amplifier to take care of the stage monitors and one amplifier to take care of the house speakers. So if I push and I hold this button, the configuration changes. But what I always want to make sure that we are set up, and it will stay this way unless somebody changes it. Right now my 2 power amplifiers have gone to left and right. Well, I don't want them on left and right because I'm not set up in stereo. I want them to be set up for monitor 1 and mains. So if I push this button again, hold it for a couple of seconds, sorry. Now, I always want my green button to be on main, and I want the yellow button to be on monitor 1. That's the most important things about it. Okay, everything else is pretty self-explanatory. I've got a tape out going to a CD player. I have wirelesses. I have stage inputs. and we control the house speakers, and we control the monitor speakers. Other devices in this setup are our CD200, which is a playback, has a 3.5 jack on it, and I'm going to take this and move it. This is a Tascam 200. There's a 3.5 plug here. There's an iPod dock, iPhone dock there, and a CD player. The only thing we have to remember about this unit is I have to plug the 3.5 cable into the plate, into the jack at this position, and then I come over here and I hit select and source at the same time, and it toggles me through the 3.5, the dock, phone dock, and the CD player. So I have all three devices in one. Up above is the previously owned church unit that we went ahead and wired up so they could queue up tapes, and that's set up as CD2, and this is set up as CD1. The church had a CD recorder that we activated, and then our 6 wireless microphones and a podium microphone. So here's a shot of the sanctuary. Core 12 speakers, nice, neat, clean, out of the way. The monitors on stage, the dark ones there are going away. I'm hooking those back up. And that's the setup here at Bethel Baptist Church in Southport, North Carolina. Any questions? I'm Joey O'Neill at Sound Systems Incorporated. I can be reached at 843-602-5883, and I'm from Sound Systems Incorporated in Myrtle Beach. Thanks.